Question.
Last off.
What I did.
Good evening. Time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Tim Toth. I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 26th day of October 2022. You all please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record, we're not only being streamed live on TCTV cable channel 8 and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. We have the following board members, staff, and expected guests. Board member Bennett, Griffiths, Curry, myself. Board member Richard will not be with us this evening. We also have some guests in the room. We have members of our finance team, the Board of Assessors, and we have our town accountant joining us remotely. There are multiple meetings going on tonight, and she's multitasking with us. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law and is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. Although I have discretion as chairperson to add or remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and our guests. Thank you. If this is your first time attending a select board meeting or any public meeting within the community, welcome. We're certainly glad you've joined us. Please be aware we will do our best to address all agenda items adequately, all public concerns with due concern, and all comments with dignity and patience. Please do your best to show the same respect. A few comments for the guests we have joining us remotely this evening on the Zoom rules of the road. Please use video whenever possible, although if waiting for your agenda item, better to have the video off as the accountant does right now, but we do see the name up. And if you can see it on the screens at home, we also have the vice chair has an account logged in so we can monitor for any message traffic and if we need to put anything up for view by the public. Please, other than that, please use the mute feature when you're not speaking. Sometimes the background noises can be slightly disturbing. So now that the housekeeping and the rules are out of the way, we will step into the meeting itself. Item 3, approval of minutes of the prior meetings. And team, we have this in our packets.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Vice.
I move to approve the minutes of 10/12/22 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second made to approve minutes as presented. Any discussion, team?
Chair. May I speak?
Yes.
I would offer a correction. At the bottom of the first page, you'll notice that on the motion for the appointment of the Board of Assessors member, that it didn't carry over into the motion to the board, but it did carry over to the motion for the board. You'll see that there's, such and such made a motion to appoint and it didn't finish out. There's a typo there.
Okay.
So I would just ask for you to motion to complete, for that to be adjusted to have the complete motion on that line.
Okay, let's make that adjustment. And when we post these online, put up the appropriate one, please.
Is it page 1 or page 2?
Page 1, bottom of page 1, very bottom.
Okay, so it says for the select board, Mr. Curry moved to appoint Stephen Laprise to the Board of Assessors for right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it just needs to complete that sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for that. I missed that when I was
Me
reviewing this
too.
as well.
So I would amend my motion to as amended.
Okay, the motion and the second to be read as amended. And thank you for that, Mr. Graves. Any additional discussions, team? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yep.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you for that. Item 3B, executive session minutes.
Mr.
And
Chair,
these were sent to us under separate cover.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice.
I move to approve the executive session minutes of 10/12/22 as presented in our, through the packet, email, and for them to be released to the public at this time.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the executive session minutes as presented and for them to be released to the public at this time. Any discussion, team? Hearing none, we'll bring that one to a vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you. Citizen input. And I see no takers, nobody jumping up and down, doing the Horseshack from Mr. Cotter. Ooh, ooh. Absolutely.
I've got a couple, but that's
That was
okay.
good.
Mike can go first.
Sure. I just wanted to remind the public that we have a very significant event occurring in Templeton, Baldwinville to be exact, at the Narragansett Middle School Auditorium, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, November 5th. The American Legion and several other veterans organizations are putting on a suicide awareness and prevention symposium. It is a complete, even though it is veteran centric, it is completely open to the public. To the school has been invited, to anyone that needs these resources, first responders, anybody can go to this because it's a symposium to talk about self-care and awareness of our growing epidemic of suicide. I can tell you that there are going to be many resources there to help people if they need to do breakouts, but there are 4 hours, a minimum of 4 hours of help and content and presentation that will be made public through speakers, through videos, and otherwise. We're hoping that it's widely attended by people that need the services because one thing that Jim Brio made very clear is that there are many national figures that are coming to this. And the reason why we wanted it here in our community is because sometimes out past 495, you might not get the amount of resources that you see in the eastern part of the state. So North Central Massachusetts, you got a huge event happening November 5th. Hope to see you there. There is a free pancake breakfast at the American Legion in Baldwinville, post 373. Again, hosted by many veterans organizations in town. So if you're hungry and you need breakfast before going to figure out how you can help your people to your left and right, make sure that you put it on your calendar for November 5th. I'm told that it's all over Facebook. I know it's over LinkedIn and Twitter.
Mr. Curry,
Yes,
at what time?
it is a 9:30 start for the symposium. It is a 7:30 start for the breakfast. So the breakfast is at the American Legion in Baldwinville. And there's plenty of time to eat and then drive down a couple miles to the Narragansett Middle School for the start of the symposium at 9:30. I don't even think they have an end time because they really want to anticipate what the audience may need, amount of questions and otherwise. But again, they've got a lot of state and national level figures that are coming in for this.
And it's just because it's west of 495 and we don't see it, it doesn't mean we don't have a great need out here.
Well, of
We're
course.
seeing
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of
Yep,
veterans out this way.
Absolutely. With a lot of veterans.
So
in
that's
this part of the state.
wonderful. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
that.
So the two that I have, I've kind of been lax on the school. I haven't been able to the audio's a little trying to listen to the meetings, but this Saturday is homecoming. Starts at 4 and there's going to be fireworks and they anticipate it'll end about 10 o'clock. So that's this Saturday, October 29th. And then trick or treating is Monday, the 31st, right? Monday's the 31st. And that's the Horribles Parade still going on. Tradition starts at Templeton Center at 4:45. And then there'll be the Haunted Gazebo and they anticipate that to end at 7 p.m. for trick or treating. Those are the only two that I have.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Item number 5, New business, introduction of new employees.
Mr. Chair, if we could have Mr. Brooks come up and
Good evening, John. Thanks for joining us.
But all right,
so this
well,
is
we've, for the last few months, I forget how many, we've been searching for someone who take over Luann's position. She has decided that she'd like to retire. And we've been very fortunate to find within our own ranks someone who really wants the job. It's a thankless position, but it's a very necessary one in our town. And Justice Graves has agreed to and is willing to help us out. He's been accepted by the board, and we would hope that he would enjoy what he's doing, and we're looking forward to working with him. So to the select board, I present you Mr. Justice Graves.
Thank you for that.
Thanks for stepping up.
And there's a little joke that goes behind that retirement. Some of the members here who wore the uniform of our country may have heard this once or twice. We always used to say disapproved, resubmit in 90 days for additional considerations, but probable disapprovals. I knew that would get Luann to laugh.
I think that applies.
I'm pretty sure the Board of Assessors probably had a similar thought. But all seriousness, Luann, you've done a great service for the town and well deserved.
Enjoyed it.
Well deserved.
Enjoyed the people.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, if I can just really for the public to know that the deputy assessor appointment is an appointment by the Board of Assessors, just for people out there viewing to understand that that's a 1-year appointment, if I understand it correctly, made by the Board of Assessors.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, moving right along. And Justice, welcome. Item 5D, presentation quarterly reports. We'll start off, we'll take these in order. Developmental services is up front.
You skipped one.
I'm sorry. I did skip one. I apologize. Item 5C. Let me recant that. Public hearing regarding tax classifications.
I know.
Mr. Chair, if it's a public hearing, do we need to make a motion to enter into public hearing?
We do.
Board of Assessor, we do that.
We do
Yeah,
that.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice.
I would make a motion that we enter into a public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56.
Motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. There's not really a bunch of discussion on this, so we'll bring this straight to the vote. Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Public hearing begins at 6:42 PM.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I sent you a packet. I always like to kill you guys with information, so I hope you got a little bit to read on it. Just a
It was
couple.
quite a bit to read on.
There
Well done.
there was, and I
Well
found a
done.
typo too, but just a couple things to go over. We had a very active sales market this year. Residential values increased as high as 25+% from their 22 values. And land sales haven't been hit in years, and land sales actually went up 40% across the board. What used to be 35,000 for an acre lot for building has now gone up to 45. I've had sales in town for acre lots anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000. So the board was very conservative this year on raising those land values because the values of property buildings went up so much. So they were conservative, but heads up, next year, you're probably going to see land values and property values still going up again. So just to kind of give you an idea on that.
Hi, I'm a guest.
Okay. All right. And also, I just want to show you, there's a brochure that the assessors are sending out in the November election. I talked to John, Driscoll, he agreed.
Kelly, Kelly, your mic is on. If you could go on mute, please. Thank you. Yeah.
So just to make the homeowners aware that values are really increasing, Justice was good enough when he was one of my board members that he did up this one-page brochure that we're sending out in the November electric bills to all the resident towns, just to kind of give them a heads up 2 months ahead of time that your rates are your values are increasing, and hopefully with values going up, our tax rate may come down.
I saw you put that in the weekly, you gave them credit.
Yeah, so we're trying to get that information out. The board agreed. We kind of want to let people know that. I know the city of Gardner did it back in July. So we kind of just want to let people aware of this too. Anytime anybody has any questions, door's always open. Please come in and ask. The total assessed values in the town of Templeton went up to over $1 billion. That's incredible. I mean, last year it was a little over $830 million. So that's just going to show you how much property value skyrocketed in
I
the
had
town.
to count the commas.
Didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Me
yeah.
too. So it's crazy. Even our single family homes went up this year over $52,000.
Mhm.
In a 9-year time frame, single family homes have gone up over $152,000. So you can just see,
Mhm.
we're pushing up. I mean, actually, we've just gone a little bit more than our 2008 values. We finally caught up when we crashed, but again, now they're still creeping. So I just kind of gave you a tax history because the going question you guys always ask is, what does $1 raise on your tax bill? Last year, $1 would raise $836,000. This year, $1 raises over $1 million. So again, that's kind of giving you an idea. And most of these hits are on residential values. That's where all my sales are, in residential and land values. Commercial, industrial, and personal property, which they call CIP, is flat. It's not doing much. Even still, our commercial properties aren't. Yeah, you can see that. I did give you a list of like our top taxpayers that's showing you, but their values aren't moving anywhere. So my board reviewed everything. They reviewed all the sales. Residential is about 94% of the tax revenues coming into town, where CIP is only covering a little over 6%. So after the board reviewed everything, they're still coming back and voted for a single tax rate with the town of Templeton. This falls in line, which has always been the historic thing for the town of Templeton. And if you look, I think in my brochure too, it shows most of all the surrounding towns that abut us or even go out further all have single tax rate also. So they're coming with a recommendation to you to vote for a single tax rate again this year. I don't know if you have any questions.
Mr. Chair. Good. I think the thing, excellent report. I think the thing that is most concerning to me, and John has brought this up many times, and maybe he'll bring it up again if he's got some words, but we were at 91% residential last year, and now it's over 92 point,
94, I thought.
I think
92. It's 92. I don't know what the forecast, I repeat that, that figure throughout the budget year and otherwise. When we start talking about economic development and, what's happening in Baldwinville, with the school and, what kind of shifts in our community might help that. I wholeheartedly concur to keep that single tax rate to be an incentive. But there's got to be something else. I don't want to frame it like that. I hope that there's something else that, or there's a couple, whether it's relief of inflation, properties becoming available, opportunities, even, to light and water, looking at their infrastructure and what that can do to different spots in the town that may be potential. But probably that's the biggest takeaway that I saw was the residential, business is booming, right? In terms of
We
what,
keep each other busy.
yeah, the revenue in the town, but that the dropping industrial base is probably the most concerning thing to me. So from when we had our goal setting, I probably mentioned it during our goal setting, like whatever we can do to try and promote to help out that percentage. So it winds up dropping or becomes a little bit. So your board winds up feeling like we have a little bit more balance. But I totally understand that point that you made last year. And, you know, I've been an advocate for trying to make that better.
Mhm.
That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you for that. And not to offset or detract from, but I found it pretty impressive going through this, the number of surrounding communities that do indeed have the single tax base.
Yeah.
And we are not unique in that aspect. So it's kind of play the game with the seesaw.
Definitely.
Mr. Chair? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just. And you can correct me if I'm wrong in my assumption here, but. Generally when the tax rate goes down is an indication that property values are on the rise. And just because the tax rate goes down does not mean your property tax bill will drop. If your valuation goes up, there's good chance that your property tax bill will increase some for a chunk of properties, not every single person, but, and it's to make that clear, because I think people get focused on the tax rate. Oh, tax rate's going down, my bill's gonna go down, and then it doesn't, and then you get the visits.
Well, and that's the thing with the values this year, that's the general rule, values up, tax rate down. Kelly and I are still working, and Cheryl, on the tax rate recap. So I mean, do I know the tax rate? No, it's not a secret. I honestly don't know. We're anticipating that it's gonna go down some, but like Jeff said, your tax rate, most likely, we're hoping when you get your bill, it almost washes even. It'll probably go up some, honestly, but that's what our hope is too. Like you say, your values are up. So if the tax rate's a little lower, it's gonna kind of even it out. So that's our hopes, you know, but like I say, they're up there.
Mr. Brooks, I did see your hand up as well.
Well, what Mr. Bennett says is absolutely true. One other point though. The out-of-pocket cost of your taxes is dependent on what's voted at town meeting. Don't forget that.
Yes.
It's the money we spend that we have to
Rates.
recover. It has not very little to do with the tax rate and the valuations jumping around. It's how much money we spend.
And the assessors don't, like he said, the assessors, we don't set the tax rate. The tax rate is set to raise the money for the money, things that are voted at your town meetings or your special town meetings. That's just how the tax rate is set. So we have to send in all those votes, and then we send in all those values. And that's what you have to raise on your tax rate recap to cover all the expenses that the town's incurring.
So town meeting essentially almost sets.
It
the
does.
Tax rate in there.
It does. We're
By-
just doing the calculations.
And that's not a reason to just vote everything down, but
No,
that's how your property tax bill comes about by what you vote.
By
to
what you
spend.
vote.
And that's and that's a good point that John, because like I
yes.
said, a lot of people get focused on that tax rate. Oh, it went down, but everything's good. It's,
No, because it could,
Not
like you
really.
say, in essence, if you vote
when they
stuff,
get their bill,
Mhm.
they come to see,
yeah.
man, what is this?
And I'm even staying for that.
Thank you.
To sum it all up, Mr. Bennett heard the same discussions I did about 10 days ago. And there's been a whole bunch of information running around and messaging from the state and looking at some of the political campaigns. And it comes down to those three words that none of us want to hear: subject to appropriation. And this is absolutely, to Mr. Brooks' point, yes, it's what the voters on the floor appropriate. And we go from there.
And you do hear that at my office. First question, have you been to town meeting? Did you go and see what was voted? You know, they kind of look at, no, well, that's where everything's coming in on. So, you know, it's not a mean question. It's a serious question. You really should get to your town meetings and vote and know what's going on.
But it shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction and people listening at home or otherwise be like, well, I'm not going to vote anything in, so my taxes go
No.
down. It's a balance. I think
Correct.
think you just said it. It's a
Yes.
balance to be able to be fiscally responsible from the budget perspective and otherwise, and then the townspeople basically being the check and balance to that, to say that is fiscally responsible and we do want growth within the community. So it's not like a knee-jerk reaction of, let's just, you know, shut it down. It shouldn't be that. It should just be a professional approach to how you
Exactly.
run a community.
Mhm.
I think the frustration for me, which I'll probably address a little bit later when on the agenda, is not being data-driven decisions for capacity for service. We have a problem with a lack of police officers. Sometimes we complain about the school budget and not having the ability to measure the amount of homes coming in and keeping track of it is a source of my frustration, so that we can make data-driven decisions to stay ahead of the curve. I mean, it's nice that we're growing and we, have a master plan but there's expenses that we're racking up that, again, we're gonna maybe have to go for a higher tax rate to meet those services. And that's something that, I know at Coffee for the Candidates, it was, the moderator asked a few times, what kind of industry could you bring to our community or this way? And, a few candidates addressed that issue to make a point of looking at bringing industry out west of 495 and toward District 2.
Can I?
Go ahead.
So the only thing that I disagree with you there, or the way that you said it, is racking up. I don't want it to seem like, we're like it's a bad thing. These are it's we provide. It's not racking up. It's the services that we want to provide. I don't mind if the school budget is being properly executed. I know what it costs to teach these kids or otherwise. Mike Bennett has been in front of this board countless times to be able to say, here's the number of police officers that are recommended for your community. So, again, I'm trying to be the other side when, we're talking, the words mean something. So when we say, oh, go to town meeting, that'll affect the tax rate. All right, I'm not going to vote for anything. We're not racking up. We're not trying to get things under the wire or otherwise. We're trying to provide a level of, we're trying to provide for the community, but it does cost money. And I think that's your point. I just wanted
I
to.
think my point is that,
Oh,
how do
your
we
point is
keep
great. I
track?
just didn't want to use the
Well,
word rack up.
I
That's-
appreciate that, and I get it.
That's a good comment, but it's actually outside of the wheelhouse and the discussion on the tax classification, but.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Go ahead.
I thought this was great, this in the packet. Who consumes this and how do they consume this? Like, who sees this? Like,
That's going out to anybody that has an electric bill in town is going to get one of those.
okay,
So pretty much that's your whole tax base, because everybody in town has electricity.
yeah,
So that was the way we figured out, would be able to get a mass mailing out to everybody.
yeah,
So yeah, so it should be going out to every residential home. If someone doesn't get it,
yeah.
I mean, they can stop by and grab one in the office.
This is fantastic.
Justice did that. He did a great
This
job.
is fantastic. This is exactly what people should see to understand. It was a one pager. It's got pictures.
Yep.
I thought it was a good job of being able to explain to people, you're not just, the evil money collectors or otherwise that are just trying to take, relieve people of their hard-earned cash, but that it has a purpose and that there is, it's according to a process. So I thought that was awesome.
This is just the beginning.
Yep. So nice job. That was really good. I really appreciated that.
And a shameless plug on a historical side, adding something that goes out in the mailings from Power and Light. I know in the early 2000s, the rescue squad occasionally would put things in, and I don't want to speak out of line, but I can remember the discussion. They pay a bulk rate to mail, and it was up to 4 or 5 sheets of paper in that envelope. So there's no additional expense incurred. They're already mailing your bill anyway. This is one more page that is inserted. So there's an indirect cost savings there just on the mailings alone.
Yeah, well, that's what we
So
figured.
this-
We were all thinking, it's like, what's our best way to get this out?
Yep.
And it was like electric bills. Everybody gets them,
Mm.
so.
So
So by the end of November, everybody should get it because they stagger their buildings. So you all should be getting them in your electric bills.
Yeah, there's great messaging, social media, whatever you can do to get that stuff out. I thought that was excellent.
also
you.
great communication and teamwork between departments.
True, yeah, and
Yeah.
Light was very willing and what can we do for you? So it was very nice.
And I apologize to Power and Light if I spoke out of line, but I think that still stands.
Yeah.
Any further questions, discussions? items that need to be clarified?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice.
I move to vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended, the percentage of local tax levy which will be borne by each class of real and personal property relative to setting the fiscal year 2023 tax rates, and set the residential factor at 1.0 with the corresponding CIP shift of 1.0 pending certification of the town's annual tax recap by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussions, team? Hearing none, we'll bring this to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Great job.
You make a motion.
Yep, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to come out of public hearing.
Second,
Motion duly made and seconded to come out of public hearing. No discussion required on this. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Public hearing closed at 7 PM.
Thank you very much.
You'll be
Continue with the
Thank you.
tax rate.
You'll be
Thank you.
missed.
That was a long motion.
Mhm.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so I should have put my specs on. Now we're at item 5D, quarterly reports, developmental services.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Lori.
So I'm just gonna,
I'm looking at the YouTube.
I need my other glasses. I'll just go over some of the highlights from the last quarter.
He's probably taking.
We received our Green Communities funding, the second round, in the amount of $76,590. That'll be used for weatherization, which has already started. As many of you know, we were also in a critical drought condition. I think today maybe took care of a lot of that.
I can hope. I'm not sure one rainstorm erases our drought. 'cause
No,
it was
and-
pretty severe.
And it has actually come down, so we're in much better condition. We worked together on the MS4 annual report, gave the information to Fuss and O'Neill for submission to EPA and Mass DEP. Continued cybersecurity training, providing information to MRPC for our Green Communities annual report. With COVID, there were approximately, and I did an average, it averaged out to 13 positive cases per week in the last quarter. We had no cases of monkeypox, and we received through a grant over $4,000, 4,000 home test kits, which we have available in our town offices for our residents. That also came with, if you have a need for a thermometer at home, we've got the no-touch thermometers that we can provide to people, and some hand sanitizer. COA hosted a vaccine clinic, which was successful. And that was it under COVID. Under the building, there were 86 building permits with fee income of $28,215. Construction value was almost $4 million. It included 7 new residential homes, residential alterations, all that good stuff. There were 67 electrical permits, fee income totaling $7,180. There were 20 plumbing permits. That yielded $2,905 in fees, and 14 gas permits totaling $1,205. The building commissioner and the fire chief completed safety inspections at Templeton Elementary, middle, and high school. There were no violations noted. Building department fees have been researched. We were going to try and present them at this meeting. We got our wires crossed, so it'll be at your next workshop. I apologize.
I can, Mr. Chair. Next meeting, not the workshop, the next select board meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just,
We're not workshop.
Okay. The Under the Ag Commission, they are on a schedule to meet every other month. They started that in August. And we're hoping to do a beekeeping seminar for residents early March. ZBA had Edwin Figueroa Torres appointed as their missing member, which is wonderful. They had the comprehensive permit hearings for the MPC School Street project at the old Baldwinville Elementary. That went through 4 meetings and was approved on the 16th of August and finalized on the 30th of August. They also heard 3 other requests, either for variances, a reduction in frontage for 2 houses, and actually for all 3 of them. And they were approved. Planning Board had several meetings canceled due to lack of agenda items. They did hear a special permit request for 136 Patriots Road to add a laundromat to the building. That was approved. They did meet with regard to Laurel View and sent the select board a request for acceptance to go to the next available town meeting. We also heard from citizens about looking at the zoning bylaws in a whole and hoping to make some changes having to do with light manufacturing in village districts. Conservation was busy. They had 33 site walks in the quarter. They heard
Or light manufacturing just means ambient light.
light manufacturing is actually more like doing production in a smaller way, not like a t-shirt shop or doing decals, not a lot of machinery, but right now we don't allow for it in the village district without going before the zoning board of appeals and a lot of other process. So 33 site walks for conservation. Most of them had to do with all of the building that was going on. There was some, it was a confirmation letter not requiring an amendment for the MPC School Street project. A letter of support was issued to North County Land Trust for their work at Dwelly Farm. There were 7 certificates of completion that were issued. River's Edge is mentioned that it was open, had 3 beautiful months of people being able to use it, and it was actually well used. Conservation continues to have 2 open seats if anybody's interested. Board of Health is its regular perk tests, septic inspections, review of plans. There were 15 Title V inspections, all having to do with sales of homes. Templeton Fish and Game and Pinewood Shores had excellent water tests all throughout the summer. They never went over. As you may have noticed, Lake Denison and Beeman's had some issues.
Yeah.
We had 2 community septic loans approved. I did attend a water seminar through RCAP Solutions, and the state is hoping to provide funding for drinking water for private wells, the same way they do the community septic loans, and they may incorporate it. So they're working on that now.
Great.
We did have a Mass DPH baseline capacity assessment. It's just them doing a survey of how many employees you have, what hours go to what. So I did complete that. And the MRPC did a equipment inventory for all of the different things that we've gotten over the years to make sure we still had them. And yes, we do. And thank you, Emergency Management, for taking care of those for us. We did kitchen inspections at the schools. They were fine. Croyer's Bakery opened up. They were inspected and they're very busy over there. We had a new mobile unit that just does smoking of meat, RKs, Mobile Barbecue, and Valley View. None of them had any notable violations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a lot more to do. Continuing work with the AG's office on abandoned properties. I don't know if anybody noticed, but 29 Sawyer Street, all the rubbish has been cleaned up from the outside. And just this week, they cleaned up all the inside. So that one's moving forward. 28 Albert is also moving forward. And we have created a relationship with, his name is Jim Lavin. He's a USDA representative, and he is helping me get the USDA abandoned houses done. So I'm looking forward to that. And of note, Lee's had a small grease fire, and due to their quick action and the fire department, they didn't have any real damage and they didn't lose anything. So they were able to open up pretty quickly after that happened. And last, and unfortunately, I've been on 2 calls with our police department and MSPCA for some animal cruelty issues. And I would say that if anybody needs help, to please contact us before it goes too far. We're willing to help. So. And I talked really fast. I'm
Yep.
sorry. That's okay.
It's good. It was a very lengthy and comprehensive report. I appreciate that. Hang on just a moment. One comment I have talking about these inspections of the kitchens and the no violations noted.
Yes,
That's always a great thing.
it is.
And I can tell you from some of the businesses I've worked in, annual inspections, you always dread them. You know they're coming.
Right.
The bar gets set high when you go year after year after year without any kind of a finding or a violation. It's not the end of the world if you find something.
is
That
not.
is the inspector's job. And if they do find something, a lot of times it's overlooked, it's an oversight, can generally be corrected on the spot.
And we do allow for that.
But to come up with this number of organizations with no violations, no, that's commendable.
It is. And they're good businesses.
And that just shows their level of commitment to what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Good point. Appreciate that. So my just question is, expired COVID tests?
So the COVID tests that we have are actually recertified by the, I want to say FDA,
I believe it is.
to make sure that they're still in working order, and they will continue to do that. On each of the boxes that we have, there's, I forget what it's called, one of those codes that you can,
QR code.
QR code.
it's a QR code and a phone number. So you can call to check and see what the expiration date is, but they are all up to date right now.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions, Steve?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry.
Lot on your plate.
So again, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to be leaving the meeting. We had some friends show up from Prince Edward Island and
Uh-huh.
they're leaving tomorrow. So
Oh,
if you'll excuse me,
Of course.
thank you so much.
thank you,
Thank you.
Lori. Appreciate you very much.
Up next, our finance team. I see Kelly on the camera with us. Hello, Kelly.
There.
Counting is first in our packet.
Yeah. She's kind of locking up and freezing there.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hi, Kelly. We're fine, thank you. How are you?
Sounds like you're up, Kelly. You're up.
She's smiling anyway. Can you hear me now?
Kelly, sometimes with a bandwidth issue, if you turn off the video, we can still get the audio. That's one of the Zoom challenges, but it does work. and it does not violate the intent of the Zoom meeting for the remote participation.
Yes.
Wonders of modern technology. Yep.
We can go ahead.
We'll take them out of order.
Yeah. if she can-
She dropped out.
Okay, well, I'll present for the assessor's office.
Okay.
This is for first quarter, so preliminary bills went out on time. Over $6.4 million was assessed to real estate, personal property, and community preservation tax. We also had another motor vehicle excise for over $80,000. Lori's office approved 6 Title V loans for fiscal 23, which will be going on the tax roll apportioned over 20 years. So that's over $70,000 that went out to homeowners for Title V loans, which is nice. So the money she spends, when the money comes back in, it goes back in. It's a revolving account. As she uses it, comes in, she makes some interest, it goes back out. So that program's been up and running really well for probably the last 3 or 4 years, which is great. I submitted my annual report from our board. This year, usually through July through November, I take statutory exemptions for widows, veterans, blind, people over 70, income asset eligibility. And right now, I've only had about 50% of my people that got the exemptions last year that have returned paperwork to me. So if I can do it through you guys, I'm going to reach out to these people that get them. When COVID was high and we were shut down at town hall, we mailed those out 2 years ago. Last year, we didn't mail them out, and this year we don't. You can call my office, I'll mail them out to you. But my board agrees that you can't mail to some and not mail to all. So that's the people's responsibility to file for these exemptions, and they still do have time to get them in, so I can get them on their January tax bills. But again, over 50% of my people have not replied or responded for this year. So please get those back in.
Is there a deadline?
To get on your January tax bills, I have to have them by mid-November because those have to be approved by my board. And if they don't get approved in November, it won't be till mid-December. And by then I've already put my tax bills out to print with the collector treasurer. So I'm usually telling people, get it to me before the 15th of November. And that'll be a guarantee. That doesn't mean they're not going to get the exemption. Even if they get their tax bill in January and they see they forgot to apply, they actually have till March 31st. To get the exemption. So then it would just go on your 4th quarter tax bill. So they don't get thrown out. So that's usually a heads up. They'll say, oh no, I forgot to apply. So they do still have that opportunity to come into our office and still get the paperwork to us by the 31st of March.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just reaching out there because like I say, I'm kind of concerned and I'd like to have them. So call me and I'll mail it to you. In my report, you see most of my paperwork that I've needed to submit through the DOR for the tax rate recap has been submitted and approved by the state. Again, Kelly, me, Cheryl are all kind of working on the actual 4-page tax rate recap. So we're hoping to get a lot of that done and submit it to the state, probably the 2nd week of November. So hopefully we'll have a tax rate before Thanksgiving. So that's our hopes, and we'll see how that goes.
Is that the one where we come in and we?
That's where you come in and you have
Got
to
it.
sign it, yeah. We've already talked about the values in town. Property visits, we've been crazy. As of September, we've had over 216 building permits. This week, tomorrow, if it's nice weather, I have to go out and measure 20 new houses in town.
One day.
So, yeah, and some of these people don't build square houses anymore. They're all jogs and it's fun. So I'll be out there measuring those. So her office has kept us very busy. Also above that, Sue, again, like to give a kudos out to Sue, my assistant. She's out doing cyclical inspections for our revaluation for 2025. And she's doing the precinct, what we used to call Templeton. So she'll do that this year and next year. So she's also been doing that a lot of times when the weather's good. So I just want to thank her too.
Getting her steps in.
She is, she's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
her steps in and she loves doing it.
Mhm.
So, yes, and that's us in our office.
Should I go? She,
Kelly's back on.
Yeah, I'm back now.
you want to go first?
Well,
Yeah,
we
let me
have-
just, mine isn't a lot, so let me just kind of do this part. The the first quarter in my office is just crazy busy as always with closing out the fiscal year, getting things wrapped up, getting that sent, the free cash certification sent to the DOR. We got the free cash certified on August 26th this year. And then the July and August reconciliations were completed. The auditors are here this week. So we should have the audit done hopefully by, I'm thinking, the end of November. We have to wait for Light and Water, the water audit, to be completed. We're still waiting on the status of that, because that has to go into our audit. And then we also need Worcester Regionals. So once we can get those two pieces together, then we can finish up our audit. Other than that, it's just been day to day. But I will say that Nancy has been just an integral part of the team in the finance. She has just made my job so much simpler. I know that things are getting done, and I don't really have to worry about that. So that's been great. The expenditures, again, there's nothing that sticks out for the first quarter. Most all of the over 25% are your, software, contracts that have to be paid right up front. So that's pretty much it with that. There's really nothing that's, major with that. And we did have, let me get to my second page here. For the revenue, we're at 25%. So we are exactly right where we need to be. So things are working out well. We're doing great. Do y'all have any questions?
Nope, I do not.
Okay.
Mr. Bennett, any questions?
I do not.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Cal.
I hate to leave you, but I need to get back to my other meeting. So take care, and I will see you soon.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hi.
And moving right along.
All right, so for me, property taxes for the first quarter went out and quarterly sewer bills were due. We've mailed several excise commitments as well as demands and warrants have been issued. We did 106 municipal lien certificates this quarter. And the notice of intent to advertise for tax taking was mailed to all residents that had unpaid taxes for fiscal 22. The advertisement was placed in the Gardner News in September, and we just recently moved those parcels to now have a tax lien on them. We just sent out letters notifying them that the lien has been placed, and we've already gotten quite a few calls and people planning on paying up now. So that's working out good. I just wanted to let people know what a tax lien is, because people think that when we put a tax lien on the property that we own the property. We don't. It's just a lien. It's kind of like your mortgage, but actually we're in front of the mortgage. We move up to first place. And if anybody goes to sell the property, we're the first to be paid. So we don't own it. If you continue not to pay, at that point, we can move to foreclose, then it would become property of the town. So tax lien is not us owning your property. It's just us being another lien holder on your property. So I just wanted to let people know that, because they think that we're taking their house when they see this. Danielle's been in the office for over a year. She's been working out great. It's a big help in the office to have somebody full-time, and she's really picked up stuff quickly and she's doing great. So I appreciate that. We both went to Treasurer Collector School in August. That's the schooling for our certification. She seemed to enjoy it. I hope we'll see. And I participated in several weekly VADAR. VADAR does a weekly Zoom meeting to keep you updated with stuff that's going on. I've participated in a bunch of those, and some DLS informational Zoom meetings as well. And our collections during the quarter are listed below. Anybody has any questions?
I have none. Anybody else, Steve?
Looks good.
Thank you.
Thanks for again, a very busy office, but doing the vital parts of keep the town going.
Yep. We all do our part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Will you be doing community services?
I will be doing community services, but we have Candace here as well as Steve for their portions of the report.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay, community
We'll
service.
take them in the order that we have them in our package.
Library, so community services fiscal year 23 first quarter reports, library community services. Excuse me, visitation at the library was steady this quarter. I worked on all three of the reports. When I say I, it's Jackie, so just clarification purposes. Worked on all three of the reports to the Board of Library Commissioners. Our summer reading incentive was well attended, in addition to 3 wonderful Wednesday programs that were facilitated by a volunteer. I attended 3 workshops, including bystander intervention and conflict de-escalation in the workplace. I worked on performance reviews for library and senior center staff. The farmers market continued this quarter, concluded in mid-September. I participated in interviews for Director of Veteran Services, soccer coordinator, basketball coordinator, and senior center van driver. Moving on to senior services. In addition to the regular weekly program offerings, the center held 2 summer barbecues with guest grill masters, a Grandparents' Day celebration, a virtual tour of Italy, an estate planning program, Christmas in July, a comedy show, a music of the Beatles program, and a trip to Salisbury Beach. A cooling center was set up during 2 separate heat waves this quarter. The first of the 12 monthly meals funded with ARPA money served over 60 individuals. This was the funding that the board approved as part of the ARPA. A volunteer of the month initiative began this quarter, will continue as we recognize the many volunteers are critical to this center. Plans began for a candidates forum hosted by the town to be held at the center. The Citizen of the Year Award was formally presented to Gail Noel, who was honored for her many years of dedication as president of the Friends of Templeton Elders and our Shine volunteer. Transportation, 307 rides provided. Social service interactions, 277. Attendance, 1,380. Volunteer hours, 459.5. So certainly getting quite a few volunteers over there. We have very dedicated staff at the senior services department. Certainly getting that many volunteers is pretty remarkable, and hours. So with the next one, I guess I'll have Candace come up for recreation. Then after Candace will be Steve from TCTV.
Hi, Candace. Hello. Hi.
Welcome.
Okay. So the Recreation Commission from July 11th through August 11th, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday afternoons for 5 weeks held the Rec Learn to Swim program at the Templeton Fish and Game Club. Swim instructor, Director Hunter Merriam, and fellow instructor Brianna Nunes did a great job with their volunteering staff, teaching 64 students to swim and water safety for the town. On August 3rd, we celebrated National Play Outside Day with games, a dunk tank, and showed the movie Doolittle in the Gilman Waite Park. On September 10th, the Rec Fall Soccer League began for ages 3.5 to 14 years. We had to say goodbye to our coordinator, Susie Green, who got married and moved away. And we welcomed our new coordinator, Kayla Knowlton, who with her staff of referees, volunteers, coaches, is currently working hard to bring soccer to 182 players, residents and non-residents at Gilman Waite on Saturday mornings. We teamed up in September with the Templeton Lions Club with the movie in the park. Lion Mike Dixon volunteered to set up and play the film Hocus Pocus for us. And we gave away free popcorn, glow sticks to the public. It was a lot of fun, and we had a great turnout to see the movie that night. Jessica, Derek, Hunter, and I worked alongside the community volunteers at the concession stand at Gilman Waite, selling hot dogs, nachos, candies, and more throughout the movie night and the soccer season. And currently, the commission is wrapping up the soccer, and we're working hard to improve on on our programs, on how we do our bookkeeping of our data and our inventory of our equipment. We did get a new member that we're waiting to join us. And we do have 2 spots left on our commission that we really could use some help, especially if somebody's action oriented and wants to help out. We could really use it. And that's about it for now, I guess.
Outstanding.
Busy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Busy.
Your big quarter.
Yeah, they did a great job.
You
Just the
did.
four, just the 4 of us. I think they killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you did too.
Yeah, Hunter is out there making French fries for us, and me and Jessica are out there all the time.
And Candy's dedicated. She was at swimming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we went to, I
That's a-
think I
that's a good-
don't think I missed any of them.
It seemed like a lot, what, 64?
64 was
Not
a
a lot.
lot. It was a last minute. When we told everybody, it was very last minute because we were waiting for all the instructors to be fully on board with all their training and everything. So we wanted to take our time. But we knew we wanted the numbers low for the beginning to bring it back. We didn't want to overwhelm our instructors.
Yeah.
And so I think the numbers were a good
right.
fit. Yeah, just right. If we would have done it sooner, announced it sooner, we would have gotten a lot more. So I think it was very
And there's certain
conservative.
parameters they have to follow as far as how many
Yeah.
kids they can take per level, according to how many certified instructors and volunteers. And let me tell you, some of the volunteers, one of them is an amazing athlete and on the swim team, swims in Worcester. She's
I
phenomenal.
just think it's great that we offer this because not only is it fun for them, it's life-saving training.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, it is. And when you have the parents that are out there, they listen too, so they learn things they don't realize they're learning.
Yeah.
You learn a lot. I mean, some of the new stuff that Hunter and Brianna brought, there were some new things, and then they had a lot of the stuff that Terry and Joy have taught over the years and stuff, so you can see a lot of the bridge of some of what the Red Cross has been doing to make some upgrades, and then you can see a lot of the stuff is just fundamental, but a lot of the kids, a lot of the grandkids from the Fish and Game Club came, which is great because they were all there in the summertime, so we had a lot of little ones
Mhm.
that haven't, like, have not really been around water like that, to teach them the safety was, I mean, you just can't get any better than that. I mean, I'm just proud that our town does this and we offer it for free.
Me too.
I think it's just a wonderful program, and I hope to see it really build with Hunter and Brianna over the next few years.
Not to take away from that, but have you seen the website for rec and all the soccer pictures and
Yeah.
it's set up incredible and
It
it's
is.
well maintained. Candy's got a good eye for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multi-talented
Well, we want-
chairman.
We want to see everybody to see what it like when you're down there and like the little kids, they're out there playing and you see all the families and it's just a huge community and you can see it all. It's like, I want to see some of that go to our town meetings. I want to see some of that go to some of our other stuff.
Amen, sister.
There's so much, we have this great bunch of people and volunteers, and they just don't realize, like, going to the meeting, they can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, tell me the good, the bad, the ugly about the rec department. You don't like it. Tell me the things you love about it. Let us know. If you think something should be fixed and we don't know, how are we going to fix it?
Yeah.
That's what it is. If you want something, you like this, like we did a little survey about the tennis court.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what people say. I didn't expect to see that many people who wanted it to be tennis.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought pickleball might come up, but there's a lot of tennis in there. And I was like, that's great to see, because
Yep.
other schools do have a tennis teams right now. And there's a lot of co-ed stuff that goes on. And our school district doesn't have any. I don't believe they do. Maybe there could be some kids that might be on it. I don't know if they do co-ed with that.
Yeah, the Gilman Wing courts are
There,
help.
yeah, it needs a lot. It's very in bad shape for whatever it's gonna be. You know, if it's tennis, if it's gonna be, but it needs to be worked on. It won't be able to survive a few more years like that. It's too dangerous.
Some young person could bring tennis up to the school committee.
Yeah.
In my day, it was Sean Case getting soccer in town. He was a student, it was student driven.
Some people, they think it should, there's a few that would like it with little hockey. You know, like a hockey or another basketball court. There's a few there, but the fundamentals, if you look at the average of the few people that answered the question, it went with tennis. I was like, wow, that's cool. I mean, you go to Leominster, they have all those tennis courts. You get a key, you can pay for a key to use their court because they lock it up. And it's somebody's always out there, always playing tennis. So it is a big sport. It's just that people forgot about it. I think it's a little forgot about it in smaller communities, but there's only, if you do like a search, there's only a few tennis courts around. And if you go to the Mount and see what they have, I mean, unless they've changed it since I've been there recently. I mean, I haven't been there maybe 6 months. I don't know if they did any work, but they were not in great shape either.
Do you know what it's gonna cost to get the courts up to usable condition?
I don't know. I do know that the tennis, like, it's like a national tennis thing or something. They do have grants for it. I've seen that on their site. So I know that there's probably grant opportunities for it. You see a lot of it in the rec world too. So there
I'm
could
out there
be
to take a look.
possibilities.
If you recall, last year, we were talking about different places to put the donated ice rink, and that was one of the considerations. So I went up there to take a look, and yeah, it would be nice to have tennis courts there.
Right.
I don't think it would take that much. That's why I asked, what would it take to get it into a usable condition without tearing the whole thing down and paving it all over again?
I know Lunenburg High School, the Lunenburg High School, they redid their tennis court, and next to it was a basketball court. And I know they resurfaced all that because I went up there for track and field events. They have the districts and big ones up there, and we were seeing them restore them. So there are a lot of people in the community that have done a few of them here and there. So I don't really know what that would be like.
One major project at a time. Bathrooms,
Bathrooms,
concession stand, you got the batting cage, didn't
Yeah.
that go up in the
Yeah.
scoreboard?
Yeah,
So
we just voted,
killing it.
yeah, and we'll be bringing it to you, but we just voted to get into the storage area because our tractor really needs a little home. So, because we're not park shed, so we have to ask you guys. But yeah, that'll be coming up soon. We have to work on it.
Thank you.
That was
pricing
good
on it and
thinking
stuff.
on your part on how to solve that situation.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of tripping over, and it's like it needs a home.
All right.
Yeah, sometimes things just need to happen, but the scoreboard, they're working on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the batting cage.
People are excited about that.
I'm gonna put up a
Yeah,
picture.
but hopefully the winter, it'll look like we'll have a great season for basketball, so. We're all set, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna put a picture of the
Of
court.
The tennis court.
Tennis
Oh,
There
the
it is.
tennis court, yeah, I don't even wanna look.
I know.
I don't even wanna look.
I see,
Yeah, I see
the hockey, I guess people could go up and do some pickup games there or otherwise, but
Well, I looked
got
into it.
cracks.
So what they do is they call it a multi thing. So you can still make it for tennis, but they call it light lining. So you can light line it to be something else too. So so that's what when they do a lot of multiple ones, they'll do it as to tennis, but they might do some little, areas so that if you're playing a basketball or if you were doing some kind of hockey, or even some of them you'll see like I don't want to say hopscotch, but games like that, was it four square or something? They'll put those on the side. So they call it light lining. I was doing some research the other day on it, and it was just fascinating that there's a lot of different things. But we just need someone, I think we just need to have someone to come in that, the material, because it's.
Yeah, it seems like even from getting hardware,
Yeah,
the surface,
the fencing.
yeah, I mean, the surface, you don't want to be tripping over, there's grass and things like that, but
Yeah.
hardware seems like the biggest thing, but yeah, try and figure out what it would take to
Yeah,
get that, get that court
Yeah,
usable.
try to figure something out on it. I mean, I
Thanks,
don't know,
goodness.
yeah, it's just, it definitely probably seen some great games and things. But like I said, they do this thing is called, it's light lining, where when they draw mainly for tennis, but then they also do a light line so that you can use it for like basketball, or you can use it for many, if you have a way to take down. I do know that we have, I don't know if you guys know this, but in the park, there's hula hoops and there are frisbees. And there's a ball, there's a couple of items, and they sit on a little shelf over near all the little, the swings and stuff. And the same amount, am I right? They sit there and they come back. They use them, they put them back. They lose them, they put
How
them back. And it's
respectful.
been like that for, I mean, a year. I've been watching it for a year. I thought maybe 2 will go away. We'll never see them. Nope. They respect it. Whoever's the community uses it, and surrounding community that comes in. And yeah. The hula hoops come back, and it's amazing. And the balls, and even the Tezza ball, if that falls off, they take it and they put it with the rest of the stuff so they don't lose it.
Yep.
It's just wonderful to see. I mean, a lot of Winchendon residents will come up and use the park. And we see a lot of people are getting, I don't know how many times around yet. I need someone to tell me, because I keep on asking my sons, and I asked my brother-in-law who did run it, but they come up there and they run around it. And they'll walk the path. I mean, the walking path, probably could use a little TLC lately, but people, because the water rushes it and
She's
stuff.
challenged me with getting from River's Edge to Gilman Way.
Yeah, we want to figure out how to
How to
go
do
from
that.
there to
And I
there.
do have a name, Keith Donardo's a forester that lived and grew up in Baldwinville, and he offered to help with that.
Yeah. Because these are things that people would like to see. Like, I know people that run
Already-
or walk, and they will, especially when it's a hot day. If you can go somewhere in the woods and do a nice little walk to get someplace else,
They
it's a nice
already walk
way.
from there to Otter River State Forest. You can do that.
Yeah.
Walk from Gilman to Otter River.
Yeah.
And come out at the
Yeah.
driveway of the campground.
But and then you have our other parks that, I mean, Hooten Park that needs some help, and
Yeah.
different things. I mean, these are things that will come. And I'm sure there are lots of other things that people would like to see. I mean, in the town, different stuff to do, but recreational wise, we're trying to bring it all back, and hopefully we'll get some sports and stuff or events, not just sports. We're looking at other things, maybe teaming up with other or helping other organizations or something.
Did you see the report that Adam helped with his alma mater? What was the name of the report? It was the study.
It was a study.
Have
Westfield
you
State.
seen?
Yeah, I seen it. So I
Be nice to
Before-
dust that back off because that.
before I
comprehensive.
seen it, before I ever came on it, I always do my own, like, if I'm gonna do something, I always look into stuff myself. And I had run a lot of numbers and stuff on my own, but when I read it, I was laughing because I'm like, these are the same things I thought. It's the same, a lot of the same things. So our numbers, we're fee-based now when it comes to all our sports. Because, it comes off it, so that way it's not on the budget. And so that's helpful because it gives us a little bit more to work with, where we were very tight. We couldn't afford a lot of the equipment. I mean, we didn't have any, like, I went in the trailer, cleaned it out, no basketballs to be found, in the park. Our soccer equipment was very low in the last 2 years. We've been building it up. I just got news from, Narragansett. They found some of our equipment,
us your
some of our
son.
equipment. They gave me some
Yeah.
pictures of it today for the first time.
Previews are coming attractions.
I just got an email this afternoon to tell me that they found some, like, to say, these are your, because I said, I need inventory. I need to tell the treasurer what I would need to tell a town what we own, what is ours, what did we buy all these years? Where did it go?
Absolutely.
And so they've located some items that we had. Apparently have these big net thing, the basketball nets. We have 2 of those. They found 3 bags full of balls, which is nice. Apparently we have electric little scoreboard thing that I guess we use if we do like a split court. And which was the one thing I think fascinated me was this little Coca-Cola machine that we have. And I'm like, we could have used that last year when I was working the concession stand with Jessica. I'm like, because it looks like it rolls. I'm like, we had to carry the cooler all the way down to the closet. I'm like, I didn't know we had that. So I don't know where it was, because I was in there in the summertime, borrowing some balls and looking for what was ours, and I couldn't locate it. And the custodians for the school was helping me. He couldn't help me. So, but now they've started cleaning it and try to find where our stuff was, which is, nice to know.
Mhm.
Even though the superintendent said we could use anything in the closet, that's fine. And we could borrow stuff if we needed to. But I know that our town and our department paid for things over the years, so it'd be nice to know what were ours if we still have them.
Yep.
Just so that so that way we're not buying the same thing over again. If it's ours,
Yep.
and if we do anything in the park or any of our other properties, we want to be able to know where we can find our things to use if we want to do stuff.
So you're saying you're building a list, or you have?
I'm building an inventory list on what we have for the rec department.
Perfect.
I did the same thing when we did the concession stand. We did all the shopping, so we had the list. So at the end of our last game is Saturday, we'll do what's left, Hopefully
Just as a
people come
final-
out and buy a bunch of hot dogs and, our last, we're gonna just lower the price and sell everything on
Yeah.
Saturday. Cause we can't, keep it in there in the winter.
Just as a final thought, because we got to get on to Steve's report. That would be great if you were to share that up through Jackie and, Adam's got the overall, we have a problem inventory anyway.
Yeah.
So that should be part of our integrated inventory
I
for
have-
town equipment.
So for our soccer
Jackie.
one, Jackie's inside the XL thing, so it has the different things like that. And in there is me and Kayla, the coordinator. We have one that says inventory. So at the end of her season, I've asked her to do an inventory.
Yeah.
And so she'll fill it all out and say what she has, what she received back from them. So yeah, because each coach will gets a bag of balls and this and that. So she'll say what we have. We bought them. This year we did, everyone got, to use a, what do you call it? A board, clipboard, and we got them white markers so they could write on it. And we got, well, of course, whistles. We don't want the whistles, but you know what I mean? We got more bags. We got more ball. I mean, we just keep on buying balls. I'm like, what is happening with all these balls? All these soccer balls. We had to get even more balls this year. Cones and, different things that they use during the season. And, that's what, the fees do. We use the money to pay for the things, the equipment, because a good program has good equipment. If you don't have the equipment, it does take a toll on your volunteers to be able to do what they do. So my thing is that everybody, for all our sports should have the things they need. If they have a request, we try to make that request happen. If it's feasible, and if it's not, then we just tell them, well, we tried our best. But so far we've done really well this soccer season with Kayla, getting everything she needed, all her supplies, all her paint. I mean, she was out there every week and she lines the fields, so we make sure she had. But there was problems with a shortage on the line paint.
Dennis,
Yeah.
final word?
Yeah.
Thank you. What, do you have a final
Right,
word?
right person.
I just need I need more volunteers.
That's a great,
Yes.
that's a perfect way to
Yeah,
end it.
and I can get more volunteers.
And she's fun. She's fun. So you
Yes.
want to volunteer for her.
Rec is
I
about,
can
we bring
vouch
the
for
fun.
that.
We want to bring the fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's the
That's a
right
great way.
person for the
Thank you for your
job.
report.
I see.
Nice. Here we go.
How do I beat that?
You can't.
That's a tough act to follow, Steve.
Wow.
I can juggle though. All right. Quarter 1 report for Cable Department of TCTV. Hannah has been revamping the calendar on Channel 8 and has done a fantastic job. It's the best I've seen it. We have virtually every event, I think, coming up, including the November 5th event. And she's.
That is so good to hear, Steve. You made my night. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You made my night.
And it's informative for everybody. I urge people to check it out in our community. We've had good calendars before on there. COVID wiped it out in the day. And we're about to bounce back from that. And so there's events, critical information, such as health updates from Lori, COVID clinics,
early voting, fall town meeting, and information from town hall. And often there is cool music that we've recorded before playing in the background. So I actually missed tonight, sitting by Channel 8, watching the meeting start, listening to some cool music and watching Hannah's slideshow. So great job, Hannah. You deserve a lot of kudos for that. And calendars are very important for disseminating information about activities in our community and information. It's great for outreach and cooperation between agencies and departments and organizations. And so Hannah's on that, and it's great to know what's going on. It's also, calendars are great training for journalism because it's who, what, where, when, and how valuable is it to me. So as we bring people in, it's a great way to get them, and also graphics training too, if you have to do that. And Caitlin's an expert at graphics as well. She helps a lot. She helps me a lot with that. So now we're seeing more of that on TCTV's Facebook page, and Hannah's we're starting to schedule that. I was scheduling some posts for the Montechusett TV page in the back and coordinating that with the Montechusett TV page. And the Montechusett TV website's off to a good start in the calendar. Our web person did a really nice job with it, but we found out yesterday she is leaving us.
Oh.
So I'll be taking up that and really digging into the job, and we'll probably seek some other solutions, maybe with our web developer, which we have to bring back in. I'm slipping into Q2 here, but we have to bring them back in to talk about marketing and email marketing and stuff like that. And we've got a budget for them to help us out with that. So we may be able to get a little creative with that, maybe outsource parts of that job, and then we'll figure out the qualifications as we go along. But they did change from now probably to the New Year's anyways. And we just listed here all the productions that we had. We had a real light quarter for meetings because planning canceled most of their meetings. Advisory didn't meet a lot. 19 meetings in the quarter. We usually do about 30. And all of the other events, farmers market moments that Caitlin did, collector time. I think Logan's still working on that from Cabin Fever, the Go Fly a Kite Festival. I think Hannah's still working on the Appleseed Festival, Citizen of the Year, September 11th commemoration, the Mr. Strickland concert that Logan's working on, a food security event with the Secretary of Health and Human Services at MRPC that they just allowed us to release, and a local fresh show with Pease Orchard. Dave Pease stepped up and sponsored it. We just got to get other farms and food producers in the area.
That came out
to
nice. I
sign
saw
on.
that one.
Nice. We were able to fly the drone a
Shannon.
little bit too.
Hmm.
And Motapalooza that Logan is working on right now. So the YouTube views more than 10,000. Sometimes they give you different analytics, which is nice. And I never saw this, but I think it's interesting that don't take it personally, but less than 2,000 of those come from meetings. So we usually see things going by on the YouTube channel, and the meeting has 50 views, and something that we posted for farmers market has 8. I mean, like, but they accumulate over time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all the top videos are the same, almost quarter to quarter. Tonka Toys, Police Station, the luminous lanterns and Wedgwood ceramics. The luminous lanterns is a neat story because, well, I shouldn't say it's a neat story. The gentleman who presented it, Mr. Zibkowski, passed away before we finished the production of it. So we dedicated the Cabin Fever program to it, and his family was very grateful for that. And to see how much his lanterns were valued by other people, which was really nice. So, and the Facebook and the Montechusett TV Facebook page actually did pretty good out of the chute. I boosted it with a couple Facebook ads. I got to figure out a strategy for that going forward. That's the report. And we worked on a little candidates forum, I think, during that.
That was
period.
a lot of work. Saw firsthand, we had 3 cameras all coordinated together with sound to boot. And
To your
Lot of
point on the
dedication.
calendars and the importance, we used to use an acronym, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And the
Oh.
calendar answers that question every time.
Huh.
But
Yeah,
you
they
just
can-
need to know where it is and how to look at it.
They can be very underrated.
Yep.
And maybe we can, partner with, I'm hoping we can partner with the Chambers of Commerce on those things and maybe supply that get web teams talking and, because they try to keep up calendars and they don't. You have to keep up with it. You have to get
Mm.
very diligent and spend hours a week on it, which I will be doing a lot of now. And Caitlin helps out with.
That's always one of the challenges whenever you post anything out there is keeping it current or updated as
call it
required.
Feeding the beast.
Yep.
It's nice you can
And
turn on,
cleaning out the firebox at the end of the season.
just click on your phone and there it is.
Yeah.
And see
Thank
what's
you for that.
happening in the
Welcome.
area.
I do have a quick question for Steve. So I'm on the Montechusett.tv and it says the Montechusett region comprises 30+ towns and cities, the area of 3 mountains, and you go through a lot of the region stuff. And you've got a lot of content on there. So far, have you been pushed? Are you going out to grab content or are people pushing stuff to you?
No, we're going
for
to
that?
grab it.
Okay. Do
People-
you think over time you'll get a little bit more interaction?
I hope so, but.
Okay.
But people these days, we don't even get it. We used to get it more with Channel 8 and we just don't get people filling out calendar forms or.
Okay.
There's a way to do it there through email, and I think we had 1 or 2. But we're going out on Facebook and
Mining for events and,
yeah, and Pat Gale helps us a lot. She does the Johnny Appleseed calendar.
okay.
So she knows
No,
everything that's going on everywhere. But that, when that comes out in print and then even on the North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce website, it's not kept up to date and things change. And so we can keep it up to date. But yeah, we have to find, as Tim said, we have to find the value proposition for this and market it out. And it's going to require sustained marketing. And something I did put in the report is eventually it's going to require a full-time editor. We're probably not going to pay it out of this budget, but that's why we want to start a digital lab as an educational foundation and also a feeder system for people who want to work with these tools.
That's great. Very innovative.
We'll see where it goes. We're
Yep.
trying to find a way to make media
Yeah.
in a news desert right now.
In your reports, if you, keep telling us about it, because I think that's a great achievement, just
Thank you.
looking through the website, I think it's such a great thing to be able to say that the genesis of this idea came, from this community, your brainchild to try and bring in area resources and events. So, whatever we can do to help you promote it, but it's a great thing.
It's going to take time.
Yep.
It's a long haul, no matter what you
Yep.
do. And,
Yep.
we got it out of the box and we thought, geez, the worst thing that can happen is 1,000 people get in touch with us, right? We can't handle it. So sometimes it's better to have to,
Gain your momentum.
yeah, get it out slowly and handle what you can handle.
Yeah.
As you can handle it.
There you go.
The
And
proof in the pudding, and I've popped on and off that site a couple times, but just watching its transformation and additional data showing up and populating is just like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and we'll figure out over the next couple of months how to give it a voice.
Yep.
That's what it needs. So we've just been learning how to drive the car.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the last one, Veteran
Yep.
Services. Our new Director of Veteran Services began working at the very end of this quarter. First report will be for fiscal year 23's quarter 2. And that's what I have for community services.
Okay. And nothing from cultural council. Correct.
Nothing reported.
Okay. Very good. As always, very good report. The numbers and the events speak for themselves, and we got a dedicated group doing a lot of things. But just like every other board and committee and commission in town, they can all use some help. So if you have a desire or interested in stepping forward, please do so. Moving right along. Item 5G is in golf, potential CBD grant application.
Mr. Chair, this is a potential grant application we're looking at submitting for Vernon Cottage School Street of upwards of $1 million. Significant amount of work has went into this, trying to get respondents to send their surveys in. Unfortunately, the bad news is we're one short of being eligible. So if we do not get one more survey from somebody that did not respond, we will not be eligible to apply
for that CDBG grant application. Justice and I went door to door down there. We made phone calls in our office, and at this point, we've done everything humanly possible to try to get people to respond. And it's really in the hands of the residents and those the neighbors over there for us to to make infrastructure improvements in that neighborhood. And if we don't get one more respondent, we won't be eligible.
I will echo that plea for especially the residents Cottage for School and Vernon Streets. You know, we don't want to see this potential community development block grant slip through our hands. You know, the easiest way to not get something is to not ask for it, but we're this close, and this one more response makes the difference. So if we get 2, 3, maybe even 4, that's better. But if you're kind of sitting on the fence and teetering, well, I should do it. Yes, please do it.
So you went door to door?
We went door to door. So Vernon Street, Cottage Street, and School Street.
You hit them all?
We went to all the doors
Yep.
that were on the survey.
Canvassing the neighborhoods.
Did you talk to anyone?
We had about 3 justice, right, that responded. We had 2, one that was when we were there, and 2 that mailed it back.
responded Because of our visit down there, there was one gentleman that we visited, and then he talked to his neighbor into submitting a survey. But overall, we haven't received much from our door knocking today. We've just been sort of waiting and seeing. We've gotten a lot of help from the funding authority, because there are some residents out there that we were able to get information on through them, but we're waiting for more people to respond.
So from the door knocking, 3 total, 3 responses.
Okay, I think the question was more geared when you did that. How many contacts as you hit those 3 streets,
One-
neighborhoods?
1 that completed it when we were there, and 2 mailed them in after.
No, I understand that, but when
How
you were
many
knocking on
houses?
doors, how many
How many
houses did
people
you
did not
actually
answer the door?
Oh, total, what would you say?
interact with?
About roughly almost 20, 15.
Yeah, I would say about 20 houses all the houses that were left on the list that we didn't have responses from at that time we visited, and that was about, I want to say like 18 to 20. at that time.
When's the deadline?
Well,
Sooner rather than later.
before the deadline period for the to submit grants, so it's getting close.
What do we gotta do? I mean,
Go back.
If
Did all 18 or 20 answer the?
you know
door?
anybody on Cottage Street, Vernon Street, School Street,
I do.
ask them if they submitted their survey.
Reach out to them.
Okay. Is there a packet or the information for the survey? Do you have like a sheet of paper? Okay, can you send that to the
Yeah.
board? That way, if we do know people, we can forward it on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Well, I would hate to see that slip
I-
by.
I
Oh,
agree.
agreed.
I think they would hate to see that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that team? No actions required. Moving on, 5H. Action regarding the approval of the election warrant for November 2022. This one kind of goes without saying, it's merely the formality.
On the agenda, it's got a little bit different order. The agenda's got the grant application that you just went through,
Yep.
and then H and I on that one is town property use.
Okay.
So you got 2 pieces there. You got town property use for Veterans Day, and then town property use policy update.
Yeah, let's take them in the order of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
Good,
Yeah.
good point. Good
Thanks.
point. H, town property use application, Veterans Day.
Oh, it's backwards in here. Is
It's
that what it
backwards
is?
on the motions. We're gonna follow
It's
the
all
order
in
on the
there.
agenda.
Okay.
So with this one, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is just, you waived fees in the past. This is simply to waive the submittal deadlines. As you know, we're Veteran Services Director. Officer just started not too long ago, and unfortunately, the timetable just didn't align, so I'm just asking authority to waive that, and then I could sign that town-sponsored Veterans Day event.
This is just a static event, right, down in Baldwinville.
Yes, right at the common
Okay.
on Central Street.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Vice.
I move to waive the submittal deadlines for the town-sponsored Veterans Day event as presented and for the town administrator to sign.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths,
Yes,
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you, team.
you know what, it's confusing. I was looking at this to say it is a little confusing. One has set up time at
11.
10:30, one has set up time at 10:45.
It's Veterans Day, 11/11/11. Yeah.
So setup time 10:45. It doesn't take them much to put that together, but yeah, it kicks off the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th.
Was that the-
At 11 a.m.
Yep.
Time of event, 11 a.m.
11:11. Is it always that way? Ella?
Always that. Since 1918.
Easy to remember.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
on the town property use policy update, I have a question if it's if either Adam or Justice are if they're briefing it tonight, I guess it's not, a non-issue, but if it's, the memo is written by Holly, I think a lot of the work to make the changes to that are from Holly. If Holly is leading that discussion and you're not, if you guys are just like, secondary, I would make a motion to table it to a later meeting.
I was actually going to suggest that,
No,
because it's more for information. I was thinking it's listed as action,
yeah,
but I was actually thinking to take all the information and if you wanted to go through it a little bit more on tabling it to the next meeting,
Which is,
November 9th.
so moved.
so that'll give me time to do the
Well, I think
Yeah.
you like the changes because I think it's,
15 days, yeah. I was
Well,
gonna
you were
file ahead
suggesting
of
for
time,
town
but Holly
sponsor.
said wait for tonight, because if it passes, then it's 15 days, but I probably should just get that in.
Okay, so it's just a housekeeping and
Okay,
correcting policy procedure.
all right.
So we will defer this, table it tonight, defer to the meeting on the 9th. So that was item 5I.
Mr. Chair wants the motion to table. You didn't make the motion yet, but once you make
I
it.
said so moved, but no one said second. So Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to table action item I until the November 9th meeting.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussions, team? Hearing none, we'll bring that to a vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes,
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. And dot the i's, cross the t's, follow the procedure. Now we're up to the election warrant. Item 5J in our packets.
Self-explanatory.
Hmm?
Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to approve the election warrant for the November 8th, 2022 state election as presented and for the board to sign.
second,
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, team? Hearing none, we will vote on that as well. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes,
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you, team. Moving right along, item 5K, Medex retiree health benefits for
Nice,
fiscal
Steve.
year
Thank you.
2023.
It's like some good news.
Very positive news on the health insurance front. 0% on the Medex health benefits. This is a renewal. So your motion might want to adjust it instead of saying fiscal year 2023 to January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Because remember, these retiree benefits run on a different period as opposed to the active employees' health benefits. So if we could just make that adjustment within the motion. But another, yep, 0%. Great. Health insurance, I mean, these last 3 years has been can't complain whatsoever, especially when you see in other areas, 8%, 5%. In Templeton's been either no increase or with premium holidays, with the actives anyways, where we pay, but we're all less. You can't complain.
No, that's phenomenal to come in at a 0% increase. That's MIAA is definitely working to help us.
Well, I could tell you when Kelly saw the numbers, the account, she was like, yay.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss,
I move to accept the current rates for the Medex retiree health benefits for 1 January 23 to 31 December 2023 as presented and for the town administrator to sign after seeking a recommendation from the IAA or IAC, sorry, Insurance Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
Second.
motion duly made and seconded. Any discussions? Team? Hearing none, let's bring this one to a vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Outstanding. Hopefully we can continue that trend. Agreed. Item 5L as in Lima. Action regarding accepting a donation to the senior center from Robert and Patricia Gale. And we do have a note in our packet addressing this.
Yes, this isn't a typo. This is actually another donation from when you accepted. I believe you accepted $50 last time. This is $25 because when I received this from Jackie, I thought to myself, I said, oh, we already approved that. And he's like, no, this is a, I was like, okay.
Yep. Thank you for the clarification because I emailed you that going, didn't we just talk about this?
Exactly. So very kind of the Gale family.
It certainly is.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss,
I move to accept the donation of $25 from Robert and Patricia Gale for the senior center as presented.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any discussions?
Again, very generous. of
Very generous, absolutely. And showing the support for our senior center, which we heard during developmental services report, is doing some great things. Absolutely. And the numbers are showing the use and the effectiveness of that facility.
Not to be a joy killer, but did you get the robocall from Cindy?
Yes.
Bring that up.
Yeah, for those that aren't aware, while we're discussing the senior center, they are closed this week for deep cleaning due to the increasing and rising COVID counts across town. And it's, again, doing the right thing for the right reasons, for the right purposes. And that's our vulnerable community there. So
And masks are gonna be required until the numbers go down. Further, going on further, the masks are gonna be required. Or they asked for them, I guess it's at will, but they recommend, I think, it was in the call. I think we have
okay,
something.
so regarding this benefit. What do we have on that?
We missed it.
No, we talked about it.
The warrant?
Yes, we did. We
move-
didn't read the whole thing because it's posted on.
Did we move on
We
it?
moved on it. We did.
Did we move on the warrant?
We did. I said to Tim, it's self-explanatory, so we just,
Okay,
it's
sorry.
approving the slate of, the questions that are otherwise, but yeah,
Sorry.
we acted.
So back on task, item 5L to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
This is the
The
25.
donation, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I vote yes as well. And again, thank you to the Gale family for your continued support. Action item 5M, proposed uses of free cash. This is requested by board member Bennett.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I asked for this for clarification purposes. The financial management policy under the free cash section states that the town administrator will, it states that we'll attempt to get our free cash certified in time to use it for a town meeting in the fall. We have done that. It also discusses, points out, states that the town administrator shall prepare a plan for its use to guide the expenditure of free cash. So we have the proposed appropriations by the percentages per the policy for the upcoming town meeting, November 2nd. And that leaves approximately about 700,000, of which 100,000 is proposed for a couple items at the same upcoming town meeting. So I am looking for the clarification of the plan on what the other sum will be used for. And I know some of the uses, one of them is to cover snow and ice, which is a regular occurring expense, different discussion for a different day. And for the capital improvement program. And I know town administrator sent out an email, but it shows proposed, not final. And if you look at the capital improvement committee bylaw, it states that they're supposed to come up with a recommended budget. But if there is no plan with a set amount, whereas the board of selectmen would state through the town administrator, okay, there's 600,000 free cash that we have right now available to do for various things. And the policy says we're going to try to cover the snow and ice deficit we all anticipate will happen, because like many towns, we don't appropriate the big chunk of money that we have historical data that shows we should. So the policy says town administrator should prepare a plan, and a plan to me is, okay, we got 600,000. I think I'm going to need 150,000 for snow and ice. Write that down. We want some money for flexibility, as Mr. Curry mentioned on the last meeting, or for other issues that are outlined in the policy. So you pick a number if you're having a plan, and then you tell capital, okay, I'm making up a number here, $350,000. That's what you have available to spend. So when your departments come in, they know what they're starting with. Same as like when you do the budget, you look at, well, real estate taxes, we should take in this much, local receipts will take in this much. That's what we have to spend. And then you got to divide that all up. And so that's what I was looking for, a definitive, a plan with numbers in place. And when I look at the capital planning bylaw, it's another example of, and Templeton's not the only one that does this, but it's like we wrote a bylaw and then we wrote a policy, and it doesn't look like we put the two next together, but next to each other. So they line up, because the capital bylaw says they'll come up with a recommended budget, almost like my analogy is the tail's wagging the dog instead of the other way around. And I was just looking for clarification, but to have what you put here instead of not final is, this is the dollar figure for this one, this is the dollar figure for this one, and this is the dollar figure for that one. So when the departments go to the capital, they know what there is available to spend, and then they can go to that 5-year plan, which I asked for, and it appears it needs to be updated for the upcoming year. And that was my concern, that we're really not following the policy as it's written.
So Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I appreciate Mr. Bennett bringing this forward. Actually had some conversations
relative to this, at least with just one member of the board. Because it made me think, like we did last fiscal year, we had about $150,000 at the annual town meeting that we appropriated for the snow and ice deficit. Then we also did the year-end transfer of $20,000. That's why I put projected, not final, because that snow and ice budget's really a hard one to really figure out. I mean, I'm hoping it snows only Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. No, not on holidays or anything else, but unfortunately, weather doesn't work that way. So I started thinking about this because then you have other budgets like at the end of the fiscal year that have quite a bit we talked about this before, where they might have quite a bit of money left aside, and instead of using a significant portion of our free cash, granted it's there available by policy, it says we could use it for snow and ice, but if we have money available in the budget, I mean, we could always transfer. Let's say we had, I hope this isn't the case, but let's say we have $80,000 in one department's account at the end of the fiscal year. We could take that $80,000 and transfer it. So that way we don't need to go for $150,000, and I could use that money and put more into capital. At a low number, I'm going to present to capital $400,000 to give them for a budget this year. I'm hoping we could go higher depending on what their recommendations are. But that's all dependent upon what happens with snow and ice. But if we have other departments that aren't expending their money, I think we need to have a serious discussion on, are we going to let that money just roll to free cash, or do we take that money and transfer it at the end of the fiscal year? And that way we don't have, if we do have snow and ice where we do it at the annual town meeting, we could do it for, let's say, if it's $80,000 in one budget, and the total amount's $150,000, we go for $70,000 at the annual town meeting, as opposed to the $150,000. We're already looking at fiscal year coming up, increasing that snow and ice budget. We've had the goal setting retreat. That was the discussion we had. So I guess it's really where the board really wants to go relative to, do they want to put more in capital, use the money that's left? If there's money like that in the accounts, because quite frankly, we could have done it in fiscal year 22. We only transferred roughly $20,000, but we could have, in one of those accounts, we could have went much higher, and we wouldn't have had to use so much free cash for our snow and ice at the annual town meeting. I think that's a discussion ultimately between the board and the advisory committee, because remember, when we do the transfers at the end of the fiscal year, we have to have approval from both bodies. I think it's a good discussion we could have. I'm hopeful that the budgets, we don't have a significant amount in one particular budget. But if that were the case, that's always an option on the table. That's how I'm kind of looking at this. It made me think of other ways that we can certainly look at snow and ice. And I think a lot of people are concerned about that being draining the free cash number. But it's one of those things where it's really where does the board want to go with it, I guess is the question. I could certainly guidance and with the administrator, we certainly recommend the administrator to transfer whatever you could transfer of other departments for the end of the year, and then make up the difference with the free cash, so we don't have to go there with such a significant amount to use towards our deficit of snow and ice.
And I'm going to take them in order. Terry had her hand up.
Mr. Chair, could I move mine up to be included in this conversation? Because
We're
I
going to keep
think
it
it
separate.
has.
We're going to keep it separate. Because the discussion right now is the free cash by itself.
Okay.
I understand the intent, but I'm not going to move that.
I think you're overthinking it. I really do. I think what Jeff was looking for in terms of compliance with the policy, at least what I heard, because I like when he brings up something, I'm like, all right, he'll bring up like a multi-layer approach or whatever. But I always think like, how can we fix it or otherwise? So by when you got to the end, I'm thinking, did he just need to send a memo? Some kind of notification to capital to be able to say, here's the number. Like you did your due diligence in terms of saying, all right, where's our starting number? And you started to go through everything. From what I heard from Jeff was more like, rather than these fluid figures, for you to start giving guidance out there.
Oh, I got you.
Right. So you send a memo or to the Capital Improvements Committee to say, here's your target amount. You know, just right. Like we're supposed to figure Capital Improvements Committee are supposed to come up with you know, the schema, but in terms of having a budget, we're not going to know. I mean, the police department could say, I need to, you know, swap out 5 new cruisers or something like that to the tune of, you know, $600,000. We wouldn't know where we are unless we had some kind of feedback from that process. That's what I heard.
And if you track the free cash for just recently, it's on the downward slide, not like that, but it is reducing each year a little bit. It might speak to a couple of things. We're getting better at budgeting. Our budgets are a little tighter. So there's a little less left over in expenditures. But it's a trend to watch. And I don't want to slide back to when the way free cash used to be handled.
Yeah. Yeah, I
When-
think
when you're-
this is draft and you could have turned it into a memo that is what, according to policy, would have been more in line with what Jeff's saying. What is the policy looking for? You did the draft and all the groundwork. You just need to formalize it to be able to say, now that I figured this out, capital, here's what, you know,
Here's your
here's your,
number.
yeah.
So to summarize, this is a good, healthy discussion and kicking some ideas back and forth. To Mr. Bennett's point, and what I picked up immediately, the financial management policy, not necessarily in a line and jiving with Capital Improvement Committee bylaw. This really emphasizes the need to, once we have a policy, we don't just put it in the book and stick it up on the shelf and it sits there and lives forever.
We've said
They
that.
need to be fluid documents and we need to be looking and making revisions. And this just really pushes, it's like, we need to dust these all off and go through them.
Because I would like to see us do less of the blinders on and look at one thing.
Yeah.
And again, we're not the only time. I look at a lot of bylaws, a lot of stuff, and we're not, and it just tends to happen where you're taking care of something immediately, but you're not. We don't look at the whole. So I think we could prevent putting out all these little fires, so to speak, as we go along. If we had more stout policy with boundaries, and we take that book off the shelf and dust it off once in a while and look at it, and remind ourselves that, oh, we're supposed to do this and this person's supposed to do that. So this will all align. And I think it
Yeah, well said.
gives a better picture to the residents, you know, because, you know, $1 million left over. What are y'all doing out there? Where's that come from? What, you know, what? If you explain the stuff and provide the info, you can't force them to read it. But if they come with a question, this is where that information is, and it explains it, boom, boom, boom. You know, it's like town meeting. You can't make them to go, but if you would go, you would find out a lot of stuff and you would get your say.
Yeah. And
That's just that was my point about this. I know I'm a pain in the butt about some things, and that's just the way I am.
So I'll follow up with capital on this one and
Yeah, you just need to
Yep.
formalize that.
formalize it.
absolutely. Now, Mr. Bennett, to your point, I like your analogy with the nice, slow downhill, which we're getting better. We're improving our process versus seeing a big nosedive. But I always keep in the back of my mind with all the trainings and everything I look for with DOR, DLS, and all these other pieces. Ultimately, free cash should go away if our budgeting process is fine-tuned and where it needs to be. So we still have some work to do. There's no doubt about that, but I think we're moving in the correct direction.
And
That's a really good point to bring.
yeah, I've said it before. I mean, I don't think, and some people disagree with me probably, but everybody does. I don't think it's a good thing to do a budget where the end of the year you're at zero, because I think you can get in trouble that way too, by being short. well, we'll take money from here and here, but if you're all real tight, where are you gonna get it from?
Hmm.
It's good to have a cushion. Just when you start having regularly six-figure cushion, that you gotta take a second look at things, especially when you say to people, well, the senior services, the recreation of this, or the roads, well, we're tight on money. And then they look at how much you had left.
Yeah.
Where's this going? Why, you know, I just think it's a better accountability, and you get to speak to them and give them the reasons and the wherewithals of how it all works and where it comes from and why.
Tony DeJoy just yelled at the television and he said, not unless you have a spend plan. Seriously. Hey, Tony.
Very good. So again, I think this was a good discussion and we're swinging the pendulum in the correct direction. And we have no suggested motion on that. Action item 5N, discussion countdown of the 2023 annual town meeting.
Oh, we're in that season.
We are.
Crazy fall town meeting next week, and we'll be getting right into our countdown to 2023 annual town meeting. So what you have here is just a draft countdown. Please review it, check it out. What's going to happen November 22nd, the select board will finalize their goals, revenue estimates, and countdown. So this kind of gives you a idea if there's any dates in there that you didn't think would work or should be moved, or the only thing of really note is you'll see I present the budget and warrant package a little bit later. That's as all of you know, we will have a new governor. So that's the reason why that date got pushed out a little bit, just correct. Just so we gives us a little bit of time. So hopefully the new governor could release those numbers to us prior to the release. So we could have a final, at least a closer version of the latest numbers, or before obviously goes through the whole state process. But
Adam, I know you don't mind. Adam, I know I mentioned this before, and for this document, it's, I see that the bottom item, select board meeting item, goal setting, says done. Absolutely. I like the fact that it's got done there, but could you keep the date in there? Like just put done off to the side. And the reason why I'd like to keep the date in there is because this becomes a very helpful. It's probably the only thing that's going to have a done, but leave the date in there because it winds up becoming a tool for whoever's writing reports or otherwise to be able to go back through and say, when did we do that? So you have the holistic, when was the really the kickoff from it. So if you could put that date back in there.
I could, yeah, this is the draft, so I could make that adjustment.
Yep.
And if there's any other,
That's a great point.
if there's any other dates you see, you can email me. We have some time till November 22nd.
That was the only thing I saw.
Yep. And I thank you for all the footnotes and all the cross references. That was a little bit of work and research as well.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Okay. Now Terry's sitting here with bated breath.
Kind of,
6,
not sure how
all
to,
business action. Item A,
I had a
action regarding select board goals and
So I had a couple comments and recommendations. I'll start with the easy stuff first. First I called Dawn Jacobs for one thing, and then it led to a discussion on our workshop goals, being more specific, measurable, time-bound, talking to the department heads, agreeing on finances. We were just talking about free cash, how we're gonna, pay for it with the department heads. So his major words were, our goals should be specific, measurable, and time-bound. And that we should have open communication with administrative and finance and the direction that order of priority, and I know that in the back of our packet, it talks about emergencies and other priority setting according to greatest need versus, you know, least of our needs. So that was something that I wanted to engage the board to talk with, is to, that we could set priorities in each of administrative, finance, public works, development services. We could prioritize those, our goals for the year, you know, most important to least important, based on some criteria that's in our packet, meaning that's most detrimental to the community first, down to the least detrimental, and how we're going to pay for it. And then open that dialogue up with each department head. And then I talked to Adam about that, and we did miss a couple things that I'm asking to be put on recommendation from Adam, who has a good eye, and in the course of conversation came up, the Otter River Main Street Bridge, that's in our purview. That's already started. That should be something that we have on our goals, because it's happening right now and moving on to completion. The MPZ building, School Street in Baldwinville, that should be on our, I'm asking, or I believe that should be on our goals, because that's already started, and something that we've been working diligently on and following through with meetings. And the senior center roof, that should be on our goals, because we just voted on that, and Adam put it out to bid, and we approved, this board approved the procurement of the person that's going to do the work, that on recommendation of Andrew Canada's plans, who did a great job on designing that roof. We did tackle River's Edge. So the other thing, what was it I was thinking on those lines? So those, oh, one more, we just had something come in our inbox that should be up for discussion. It was a bone of contention earlier in the year. We do have a homeless situation on Crotty Ave that's generated a lot of trash. So I think that we might want to consider adding that on our action list too, is to start discussing how to reconcile with the homeless of the community. It doesn't come under the opioid crisis thing, but there's got to be some things out there that we can find. And Adam.
Through Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I can respond. So Terry, what we'll do is because this is a draft work plan, so it's good that you put this on here. I'll add Main Street Bridge, Baldwinville School Project. I've just sent you 2 updates of those 2 projects this past week. Senior Center roof, so we would keep it on till we have the execution of the project. Actually just signed a change order for that. I think Mr. Curry, I think he made the motion for allowing me to do change orders up to a certain threshold. And then homelessness, I'll add to the final, because I have till the 22nd to get that final draft to the board. So I'll encompass those.
And I'm just wondering how we can have a discussion, or if in the future, on looking at all the do outs that we have and making them specific, measurable, time bound, and inform the department heads on our thinking on that, so that we do accomplish what we set out to accomplish.
Mr. Chair, go ahead. So you got 2 things here, Terry. You've got your discussion with somebody else, Mr. Jacobs, about another product. So I would say, based on what you just asked, like, how do we do that? Then you got to come back to the board with, hey, here's another template.
Okay, yeah.
This, you're misconstruing what this template and what this board does with this document with something completely different.
Right.
You're right.
I'm ready.
Okay, so you got to come back to us to say, here's another template that I think that we should integrate in our next goal setting. Because what this one does is that we sit down in our retreat and we talk about the things that we want to do from a budget perspective and from a policy perspective.
we care most about the policy, obviously, the town administrator, so we can get it on, and we have the right resources and discussion. But the primary thing that comes out of this product as it exists right now is Adam's budget guidance to the department heads. I don't disagree with you that that needs to be, we need a better idea of definable, priority and otherwise, but that's not what this product does right now. And to try and change this product to include those things, we're way past it at this point. But I would say, come to us with a product, or, collectively, if you wind up, in your travels, we've got an MMA conference in January that the notifications have gone out for. Those are great times to be able to rub elbows and say, hey, what do you have? They have a select board breakout plan. So you wind up talking with Mr. Jacobs, other select boards, to be able to say these things. But we're not going to be able to fix right now what we have produced as a board. I don't disagree that we should add a couple of things so we have measurables. We said we'll knock off some of the ones when we talk through it as accomplishments, because we do, the chair has got to collect all of what we have done, the good things that we've done. So I don't disagree with adding some of these things, because it is a draft document and we can talk through it when it comes to us for a vote. But that's my.
I catch you. I tried to, Mr. Jacobs did suggest Keene and Brookline. So I went on and looked at Brookline, and I came in, I actually tried to go over it with Justice to understand. And Adam and I talked about, and he said, yeah, it's not possible for this year. It's too late for this year, but it's just mentioning it. And like you said, getting that other template or other information that we might want to pick out the meat and spit out the bones, and how we can tweak this, tweak it, open up more doors of communication with the department heads, and get our, make sure that we're implementing and finishing in specific time-bound fashion with clear communication. But I understand what you asked for too, so.
There is a fine integration with the action tracker and the plan and.
I agree.
Piece.
Yep.
And how do we get?
Because there are pop-ups.
How do we get the two to mesh without shearing off all the gears and the teeth on the gears?
I think one thing we have going for us when I was really thinking about this is the more, and I know a lot of people think there should be term limits, but the more we work together, we can develop it. If somebody new comes on, then it's a whole different perspective, and they may not be up to snuff. But when you have solid board members, what was that?
There are no term limits for us. We can stay forever.
Yeah, and I think the synergy, and the longer we stay together, the more developed, so that if we have to hand this over to somebody else, we've actually accomplished something that they can pick up and continue for future generations, accomplishing more for the town, because we stuck together, stuck it out, thankless as it can be at times, and, worked it.
To that point, Mr. Weiss, you did this last year. Since this, my third year on the board, and we're about halfway through that. Since I took over as chair, I've been tracking just on the side how many hours I put in here, there, and everywhere. These formal meetings, I'm up 164 hours. All the other do this, do that, follow up on this, I have almost 200 more.
I believe you.
And
And
you
the
look at
times
it,
You have to call in
and
from.
I'm not saying it to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying it so the folks watching at home have an idea. It's not just what you see on TCTV channel 8 when you watch our meeting. There are so many pieces of the puzzle going on behind the scenes.
Unbelievable
And,
for you, I think.
The board is very dedicated and very busy working for the community. But yeah, this is
$10 an
great,
hour.
great point.
Learning all the time.
$10 an hour.
Still.
Not even make a minimum wage.
That's what
Okay, can we be like?
And that's
the
just for
waitresses and
meetings? Is
waiters,
that
tips?
just for meetings, Mike, not the every day to
Well, that's it.
day?
He said 364 hours.
Oh, I think
Just,
that's
divide it- Added
underestimate.
into our stipend.
Good point. Good point.
So I will just add those suggestions that Terry mentioned and like was, you mentioned it's still a draft, so
Yeah, all of those, everything that made it on there so far had the opportunity for discussion. The only thing is to add them in there. We haven't talked, like for the homeless thing. I would assume that it goes under community services, how does that drive a goal or budget? Does it, what do you do with that? From a policy perspective or otherwise, I don't know what you do with it other than, is it a select board goal or is it something that, community services winds up taking onto it? So,
well, I already have a plan I'm working
Okay.
on with rep from the police department, Board of Health, and the senior services. So we're
Okay.
I was just talking with Lori about it the other day, so we have something, so I'll follow up with Lori and we'll have a discussion on that.
okay.
Oh, before we go, I also, on this integration, Adam, this integration of iWorkQ software. I attended that webinar, web meeting with Mary Beth and Bob, and he had to jump off, but the conclusion is not this year because if it's anything, it'll have to go before capital and go out for procurement if capital votes on it.
That's,
So they threw us a bone, they threw us a carrot of we'll take $8,000 off this year if you do it by the end of the year, but that's not how the process works. So we had to.
let him do it, Terry. We've got it on there, start, integrate, finish.
Okay, okay. Oh, so bringing it to capital is the
Yes.
next step. Okay.
Did have a question in public safety. This is a draft document. One of the line items says get fire chief out of the ambulance. Is it supposed to say that?
Enough like that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
What?
It was actually, remember Bennett requested that item on there.
I just don't understand. It's weird.
I mean,
It's like I thought it was like an Easter egg or something, like, was this, are we supposed
With
to?
Waldo.
Are you testing us? Does it need to get changed or does it really
I
need
mean,
to be on there as get fire chief out of the ambulance?
it's up to Jeff if he wants to change the language of it, but.
Did you get this?
Well,
one?
look at the
Why?
one above it, reduce fire by looking at stats. How do you reduce fire by looking at stats? We're gonna reduce
starts
fire
off
by
well.
looking at the stats. Okay, fire, you're now reduced. in
No, what
stats.
I did is I encompassed what we discussed and then Mr. Bennett followed up with me and got me his goals as well, so.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about that. I mean, that seems kind of. This is supposed to help, not like drive a wedge between us and the fire department. I don't know what,
Right.
what do we gain out of that other than, a moment of humor on October 26th. I don't know, what do you mean there? Is that how you wanted it to appear? I mean, that doesn't
Get the fire.
get fire chief out of the ambulance. How about improve manning of fire and emergency services? That's a little bit more than telling the fire chief to stop riding in the ambulance. I don't know where, I'm saying this, but I don't know what the issue is.
It's the point is a manager cannot fully manage his department when he basically has two departments to oversee and do all the stuff that you need to do, the record keeping, the finance, the budget, the personnel, come to meetings, this and that. And if you're the fire chief and you're in the ambulance and you're, say, on Parker Street in Gardner, taking somebody to the hospital and there's a major accident or a fire, what does he do? Hey, come get me at the, here, or I'll be there when I get done at the ambulance. It's just, and I know how it happened because they went to we jumped to advanced life support, and then they were gonna staff it at this level, and then this level, and then this level, people each year for 3 or 4 years, and it didn't happen. So the fire chief is doing what highway superintendent used to do a few years back, before Bob Sozik was, he would be in a truck plowing. But who's going out and checking the roads and saying, hey, we need somebody to go to this road or do this, or this truck is down, I gotta call the town administrator because I got a big emergency expense, I gotta deal with this stuff. Managers, especially today, in the environment that we have, and all of the things that need to be done, the managers, you can't be working. So, and to me, it's point blank, but it's kind of a boot to us to say, we somehow have to come up with a budget and a way to get enough employees
To
be
free
able
him
to
up.
run that service, so the fire chief / EMS manager can do the management job. That would be like having Adam over at the highway department helping out, because, I gotta go mow grass because they only got one person. Who's watching the farm?
Mr. Chair, I don't think that's the right approach, Jeff. If you wanted to add that stuff in, I know that you weren't at the goal setting workshop, but you shouldn't have given it, my opinion, Mr. Chair, you shouldn't have given it to Adam to add in there. You should have given it to us so we could have talked through it. I don't want to pick a fight with a fire chief like that. I think to use this document and to do that, I don't think it's going to be the right move. I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I just think that we need to be a little bit more tactful. And I think you could have come to us with that rather than to throw it to Adam.
It was, if I recall right, I may be wrong, but I thought there was an email that came from the administrator's office to get your goals together and submit.
Which we then shared at our retreat. That was the purpose of that, so we could all review them together.
Right.
Yep.
And and Dickie wasn't the first one, right, doing that thing. And I know it's like, we're short staffed, so he's doing that during the day and this, but again, if he's in the ambulance and there's a fire, I mean,
I'm going to correct that. He is not the first. That was Chief Laporte was. the
no,
first.
that's what I said, he's not the
Yeah.
first to
Oh,
do that.
I
I'm sorry,
misheard you. I thought you said he was the first. I
No,
guess,
no, he's not the
this
first
has
one
been
to
going
do
on for
that.
a while.
But
But yeah,
it's,
point
Hey.
taken.
and I know he's there, and it's like, we need to get him out of that so he can do his job, which is fire chief and overseer of the EMS.
I don't have a problem with it. I
Needs staff, he just does.
don't have a problem with the way it was done, but it could have been a little more transparent where, like I did not know that was something from Jeff's due out. I thought you were saying Adam put that in there. I didn't know it was something from Jeff's due out.
No,
We-
the worksheet that we never did get to work our way through during the workshop because the night just went on and on and on. I developed that, sent it to the town administrator to disperse. So we didn't get into any potential conflicts of interest or OML violations. Although we do have the ability to communicate among ourselves and it's not an OML violation, but removed any possible perceptions. But no, we did not get through that whole 3 or 4 pages of questions and rack and stack at the very back.
Mm. Then all I'm saying
But-
is,
Mr. Chair,
Go
if I could suggest, Mr. Curry speak with Mr. Bennett on the language they would like to see for that, and then I'll just adjust it accordingly.
Yep.
And I think that will solve.
I think that will.
Yeah, improve management to optimize supervisor duties.
Jeff.
I'm sorry.
Improve manning, because this is under public safety. We don't have to say public safety again, but improve manning to optimize supervisor duties. That's across the board to be able to say,
Yep.
Manning's got to be handled, for whether it's a budget perspective.
improve.
Because I
manning.
would guess that there's going to be a little bit of pushback to
Manning.
that, whether who's whatever.
Improve staffing, well,
It's the same.
No,
The
no, no,
words
no.
are interchangeable.
So Jeff's issue is if you're not present to do supervisor duties, you're not meeting, right?
it's the
So,
wording, improve manning.
well, it is, it's about manning. If there is a need to be, he's not
Right.
riding in the hospital in an ambulance just because he likes the sound of the sirens. I
Working.
genuinely believe that
Working.
he, absolutely.
Yep.
So you gotta, if there's a need for that, then you've got to improve the manning. Now, from a budget perspective, does it come back to the chief saying, I need more people? Well, we know that. We do know that, but we also need supervisors out there that are looking at stats reports or otherwise. I don't need to rehash everything that
No,
Jeff said.
okay.
I agree with what he's saying. I just think that we need to be a little bit more tactful in the way that we go about giving the TA
And-
guidance to be able to say, make this happen. This is a goal that we have. How are you going to work with your department heads to make that happen?
And to the chair, and you would know this better than I, but my understanding of the EMS thing, and when you go to ALS, it's not just a manning level for the convenience or of a department head, but I believe there are mandated levels that you have to have of personnel to offer that service.
Yes.
And in the ambulance, there has to be, with the ALS, there has to be at least one guy certified this way, and the other one can be either or, if I read it
That
correctly.
is correct. And the town does operate under the paramedic basic staffing model. There was a 3-year window to go from running total basic life support to integrating the medics for a 6 to 8 hour window, and then up to a 16 and up to the 24. We had 3 years to get to the
And we were-
24, which they did.
But it's
It's
piecemeal.
baby steps.
And that's my thought, and
Yep.
my point is, how long are we gonna stretch out the piecemeal? And it's not about the chief, can he do the job or not? He needs to be
Free to
his-
do
his
the
man,
job.
Chief and his chief stuff, and not be doing 4 duties.
Yep.
You
We
know?
also need to look at the real world scenario as Chief presented at our last meeting with his quarterly report. The numbers are up.
Oh, yeah,
The numbers are definitely up. That is not just here in Templeton. That is
no, that is
nationwide.
everywhere.
That's everywhere.
Ambulance service
And
is up.
the number of people to fill the empty seats is dropping. People are advertising all around for positions and there are just nobody applying. So it's a multifaceted approach, but yeah, it's good conversation.
Have to work hard to make it happen.
And the residents do notice how many people come in the ambulances and who respond. I remember Will Spring had made a complaint, I don't know, this is like a year and a half, 2 years ago about, because, he would always say, well, I talked to people. In this case, he had talked to people that had a call, and the people that were receiving the ambulance services didn't feel like there was enough people responding. So there's that perception as well. I know it's a rock and a hard place. I think
It
we
is.
can, I think we can work on that. I sent you the language.
I think, again, a good adult conversation. Sometimes these tough conversations are what we need to have. Absolutely. Okay,
So
again,
we're expecting to see a draft of this in the near future, an updated work plan.
yes,
And you'll get the final for approval November 22nd.
perfect.
Oh,
Again, no
sent me
suggestion.
that
Anything else?
one more Gilman
Oh,
Wake
right in your
Kitchen,
text.
Gilman Wake Kitchen. Is that on there? Gilman Wake? No, I don't know where I have that.
Terry, I'd send an email,
Okay,
only
No
send it
worries.
to Adam. We've talked it through the meeting, so we know what you're gonna send.
All right, item 7, board member administrator comments and reports. Mr. Bennett. Ms. Griffiths.
I've been mulling over this. I'll be brief. Thank you to everybody that came out for coffee for the candidates. A lot of people felt it was very successful. I happened to learn a lot. I will leave it. I learned a lot. I feel like I owe people an apology because I made a few mistakes, and so if anybody has any complaints or, needs to debrief, they can come to me. So, I actually did learn a lot, but one other thing I learned, which it's hard for me to talk about, there are other disabilities and, there are the unseen disabilities. So I learned about a disability from airborne particles and, you think of tree allergies and you think of, dander, but there are food allergies where if people are in a room with certain types of food for of an extended period of time, the molecules in the air could cause them to go into anaphylactic shock. And that was a very humbling experience for me because I made something that could have hurt somebody. So, going forward, it's just one of the things that limits people's lives, and I consider it a disability. I'm not sure if it fits, but it just was an eye opener for me. So.
I'm going to go last. Mr. Curry, anything?
Congratulations to Justice. Nice. November 5th, make sure people are coming out if it's going to be a great suicide awareness symposium. Narragansett Middle School, Saturday, November 5th, 9:30 start. Unless you're hungry, go to the Legion to 7:30. That's all I got. Adam?
I just wanted to acknowledge the work of the Department of Public Works and the Massachusetts Broken Stone Company. South Road came out exceptionally well. I actually drove down it the other day when they put the final coat there on, and I think it's just a great coordination, and so that's a significant amount of roadway with the board approved relative to the ARPA use, and then the Chapter 90 funds. And Bob already updated you too that he's going to try to get Hamlet Mill Road as well as Brooks Road done by the end of the fiscal year. So we got a significant amount of roadway done by Bob's Chapter 90 plan and you approving it. But I think it's important to recognize the positive progress we're making, especially with our infrastructure. And we certainly have some great department heads that really go out of their way to make sure that the project goes accordingly. It's just that we ran out of time to get to Brooks Road and Hamlet Mill.
Yeah, I read the.
So I think
We can't control the plants closing down and the weather.
absolutely. I just want to recognize their work, and if anybody in town that drives down there, it's a significant difference to what it was like. Hitting all those potholes and patches over patches. Now it's a nice smooth. They got the curbing up, and I thought they did a pretty good job myself. So I just wanted to recognize that.
Justice, anything?
The only thing I'll say is it has been a pleasure serving under this town administrator and assisting the mission and vision of this board over the past year. And I will see you all again on your November 9th meeting, and then I will continue to see you as you pass through the town clerk and the assessor's office, hopefully in the near future. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. I said I wanted to go last. I have 4 quick items and in no particular order. First and foremost, this has been Cancer Awareness Month, particularly breast cancer. Mr. Bennett's wearing the pink shirt. Kudos. I've had the ribbon, or today I have the cancer awareness till we find the cure. A lot of people don't know I lost my mother to a rare form of bone cancer where her body stopped producing red blood cells. And ultimately she succumbed to that. So this is very near and dear to me. It's a great program. The police department, the fire department did the pink out. You see them, the pink badges, the pink patches, the pink t-shirts. It's a wonderful program. I know the fire department was raising funds that went to the oncology center at Haywood Hospital. So kudos to them for that effort. Food Pantry is always looking for donations. They're soliciting our input with the holidays quickly approaching us. I have one comment here, bulk waste. I've noticed in my driving around town, a lot of people were putting stuff on the curb, doesn't get picked up, but we're not in the business of bulk waste. If you have garbage and junk, it's incumbent upon you to properly dispose of it. That said, the rules change on all of the linens and cloth type materials that can no longer go to the trash. We have the project, the Planet boxes out here, and there are some over in Baldwinville as well. Please utilize them, and the town does receive a percentage back by the pound for everything that gets turned in. It's the right way to do things. And my last little plug, next week, 11:02, fall town meeting. Come out, support it. Okay, so
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Vice, go ahead.
I move to go into executive session for Mass General Law 30 Alpha subsection 21 Alpha 3 to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and to come back into open session to only to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second duly made to enter an executive session. We will be doing so to discuss the matter at hand. We will only be coming back out of the session to adjourn the public meeting. This does require a roll call vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.